Alan, if you could describe the show, how would you describe it?
It's a conversation. This show's quite different from other shows in that you sit comedians around a table, you have them put their back to the audience and talk to each other, and it's the collective conversation that they have that makes it engaging and funny.
What's the funniest story that you've heard then around this table?
The funniest story I've heard is, well, there's been a few. I like Noel Fielding's story about going out after a gig and waking up the next day working in a shop, and he was supposed to be on his way to do his next gig. That made me laugh. I liked Izzy Sooty's story about exactly how long her mum breastfed her for. That made me laugh. Kevin Eldon is a drunken pirate. That was pretty funny. And all of Craig Campbell's stories about killing beavers and stuff. I mean, I can't even really remember what he was saying, but I was laughing too much.
And what's the most interesting story that you heard?
Well, we had some quite good stuff. When John Ronson and Andrew Maxwell were here, we had some quite good stuff about conspiracy theories and Area 51, and that was all quite interesting stuff. But I found that everybody's interesting in their own way, because you're sort of seeing a different side from people, even people that I know quite well. Some of the comedians I know really well, I've known half my life. Some of them I've never met before. And they're not really in full performance mode. They seem to forget there's an audience here after a while, because we're all facing each other and talking to each other. So you're getting a slightly different side. One of the things I really like about it is no one's got their phone out, you know. No one's online. No one leaves the table. So you do get, we do 90 minutes of chat, and then half of it, sadly, gets edited out because we can't put it all out. But it's just that conversation.
Who's been your favourite guest so far? And if you could have anyone for the next series, who would it be? If there was to be a next series.
I couldn't possibly select one favourite guest. Catherine Ryan, because she's very attractive. But then Bill Bailey's attractive in his own way. So, as far as guests on the next series, if we hopefully will have one, then hoping to have Jo Brand along, because she was due to come on this series and couldn't come. So, but there are lots of people around, really lots of funny people that would be interesting to hear from.
And if you could choose one person, dead or alive, from not just comedians but any aspect of life, who would you choose?
Goodness, choose one person. That's really... It changes every time I get asked that question. I think I'd have John F. Kennedy at the moment. I think, yeah, I'd like to talk to him, maybe with the cameras off.
Why would you watch the show? Why should people watch the show?
I think the reason to watch a show is that the whole tone and atmosphere of the conversation is quite different from other shows. It's sort of a chat show, but no one's plugging anything. It's kind of interviewee, but it's not one-to-one. And it's sort of a comedy show, but it's not really comedy performance. So it's got lots of elements of lots of different shows, but it feels, I think it feels like quite a unique atmosphere. So it's a little bit different.
Just finally, because obviously QI is really, really popular on Dave, would you have Stephen Fry on the show, and how do you think, what would he bring to the table, do you think?
Oh, yeah, it'd be great to have Stephen Fry on the show. Yeah, in fact, there are lots of people who come on QI who would be really interesting to see them in this environment. And Stephen's a great raconteur and teller of anecdotes, and also he's quite interesting about himself and his life. You know, he's written a lot about it, so you know, he'd be a good guest. It's those bright, funny people. That's all we're looking for. Don't necessarily have to be Brain of Britain. You just have to be bright, funny, and engaged in the conversation.